Okay, this is part 2 of the Van Gogh's sunflowers, and I said we were going to paint, but we're also going to be using only 3 colors, the brown, orange, and red. And if you do not have these colors or a paint set, you can also use washable markers with, again, you're only using orange, yellow, and brown. And if you have nothing with, using water, you can also use, or if you don't want to use a watercolor, you can use the crayons or the colored pencils, and they're going to do the same effect except for the wax resist. And but I'm going to demonstrate all 3 that you can do. Traditionally in the classroom, we would have watercolor and in a space to use the watercolor. And when you use the watercolor, you have to add water to the wells of color. And here I'm just going to dip my water, my brush in the water, and I'm just going to put, 3 or 4 drops where I just dip my brush in and then just kind of dragging it on the side to make the wells wet. But first I'm going to do the lightest part of the flower, which is yellow. And again, I'm just using orange, red, and brown. The first thing that I'm going to do after I added water to the paint is I'm going to roll my brush in the paint right here. And I'm not pressing down on inside. I'm just rolling my paintbrush inside the paint to load the brush. And also watercolor is light and see-through. Once you've loaded your brush, then you can color in the petals inside your inside the petals on top of on your paper. If you don't have paint, you can also use the markers as watercolor. And so I'm going to add water to my some of the petals here. I'm just adding water onto the paper. And then I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to place the marker on top of the water right here. And it does pretty much the same thing. You can also add the marker as the paper is dry, and then add the water to move the color around. If that's not working for you, you can add the yellow until this dries. Just continue to color in your petals in yellow. And again, if you don't have the the paints, you can, with a dry surface, you can also color in the petals and your flowers with a colored pencil or a crayon. It'll do the same thing, except for when the water dries with the paint, it will show resistance to the wax of your crayon. So I'm just going over the areas where they're dry. And there's another place where it would be yellow. And I'm going to make I think I'm going to choose to make the top part yellow here of the vase. And again, I'll just add water to my top part of the vase right here. And finally, I'm going to move to the next color, which will be orange. And you make sure you have color in the well. And I'm just going to dip or roll my brush into the well for orange. And I'm just going to just run the brush on top of the yellow and let it mix with the yellow and just the yellow. For the crayons, you would use your colored pencil or your colored pencil or the crayon right over the yellow, and it'll have a similar effect, and it's just a different medium. I think I might have used this with crayon, so I'm gonna go over my petals with crayon. And it's okay if the crayon goes over the line, it's fine. And then just continue to color in the petals with the orange. And I'm just using the orange, just dotting right on top of your paper. And then I'm going to move on to use the orange as the tabletop. And again, I'm just going to paint the area where the table is in orange. And again, you can also wet your paper and use the marker too as your watercolor. And if you're going to add anything else like crayons, just make sure that the paper is dry before you add any more color, dry materials like the crayons. So I'm using the edge of my marker to use with water, or you can just color it in as is. So that takes care of the orange and yellow. And now finally we use the brown for the face of the flower and the bottom of the flower pot. So then it's also the darkest color, and then you can go over and you can see better with the brown that it's resisting the crayon. And again, if you don't have the paint, there's no shame in using the marker or your colored pencil for the heads of the flower. So I'm just gonna color in with the marker and then go over it with water, so it'll just move the color around. And again, you can color in the heads of the flower with the crayon. You use what you have. And finally, the brown goes onto the bottom of your flower pot, and you go over your name too, and your name will be resist for your for the crayon, the wax crayon. And once you're finished with your colors, then you can go back and with other colors, you can use the colors on your paint, or you can go back to color the stems. And as far as the sky, and again, I would just do something really simple with your with the background. So I would do just lines. So I'm gonna take the blue and roll it around, and I'm just going to just draw some very simple lines with for the background of my paper. That's a bright blue. So, but you can use markers or the colored pencils to make the stems and the leaves. And if you have paint, you can, paint those on, or you can go back with crayon and just, or, colored pencils and just draw just some lines, just small dashes onto your paper to make an interesting pattern for your Van Gogh sunflowers, the background. And you can also, once the paper is, dry, you can go back with dry tools like the crayon, and you can make some more lines with your paper. Carefully, use your marker to draw some lines. Van Gogh was very good with texture, using his paint and his paintbrush, and the paint that he uses so thick, and it's just amazing. So you can always go back and put more texture inside of your paintings to make it more interesting. So this would be the end or conclusion of Van Gogh's sunflowers. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to talk to you soon. Be well and stay safe.